Alright guys, I am back with my review of Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory Season 3, Episode 6, Manimal. Now, this episode was a bit far-fetched for me, and I think Jesse probably felt the same way. This half-man, half-monkey, super soldier theory, it's really out there. It was an entertaining episode, and I did enjoy the episode. But as far as the government creating these humansies, it's a little too science fiction. But the thing about this show, just this season alone, if you look at all this stuff, humansies, and the next episode, brain invaders, where they can send thoughts into your brains, which I'm going to do a video on next, if they have all this stuff, just from what we've seen in this season, space stations, the Ozarks, reptilians, death rays, all of this stuff, why would they need humansies? I mean, if just any of these things were true, let's say the brain invaders thing is true and they can put thoughts into your brain. Or the death ray episode, they have a death ray. Do they really need an army of humansies when they have a freaking death ray? It just doesn't add up. And I'm sure they are doing these weird tests and stuff, but as far as trying to make a super soldier out of a monkey, I don't know. It's hard to believe. Maybe in the 70s, I know there's rumors of the Russian government trying to make like half man, half bears and all types of crazy stuff. Maybe back then, maybe the 40s or earlier. But now, I don't think it's really a threat. But yeah, when they have things that could potentially put thoughts into your brain or death rays, or all the other stuff that we've seen this season, the Ozarks, that stuff is way more, I guess, threatening to us than some humansies would be. So I hope that makes sense. But anyways, it was an entertaining episode. And it starts off with this guy, Chris DeRose, who tells Jesse that scientists are trying to combine different species of animals, pigs with human blood, mice with human brains, and he thinks they're trying to create these so that they can control us. Some guy in the streets actually comes up and says, DeRose, I have my eyes on you, and then rides off on a bike, which was kind of weird. And DeRose says they can do what they want because there are no laws against it. So that's what sets up this whole theory, and Jesse gets the team together. And Tyrell says he has a guy, this scientist, Dr. Zinjani, who is trying to grow human liver in a sheep. And he's agreed to talk to him. And Jesse says, he's agreed to talk to you. Has he not made the connection that Tyrell Ventura is with Jesse Ventura? Or does he think you're Ace Ventura? Oh, that was awesome. And Jesse does say, well, you know, scientists do things like this as a way to find new cures for diseases, organ transplants. So they do mention that it's not too crazy that they're trying to do these things. But Tyrell and Sean go to meet this guy, and then Jesse says he figured out Tyrell worked for his old man and refused to talk. Guess that makes him part human, part chicken. Jesse was full of these one-liners in this episode. So another guy, Hussein, agrees to talk with them. He worked for the scientist. He was fired after going public. And he says the sheep have human cells, and if they were put on the market by accident, people would be eating human meat. So that's actually a real threat here. The fact that they could be growing these things, and they're really close to a slaughterhouse, and if a mix-up happens, someone could actually be eating human meat. That's an actual threat. Hussein talks to them, or takes them to the farm he worked at, and they see that the sheep are really close to a slaughterhouse. A mix-up could easily happen. June goes to see an evolutionary psychologist named Dr. Gordon Gallup, who says that there's a half-man, half-monkey named Oliver, and there's this primate center, Yerkes, where they did all these tests. There are rumors they had a man impregnate a monkey, and it gave birth, but they killed it and never told anyone. And Yerkes is still around and more secretive than ever, and they're making these humansies. So Tyrell and Sean are trying to ask questions at the farm, but the cops come. And Tyrell tells Jesse about the sheep and how it could be cannibalism. And Jesse says, cannibalism? And I just get a phone call about humansies? So Jesse talks to someone in bioethics, and their job is to monitor the government, make sure they're not going too far with these experiments. And he tells Jesse that a monster could be created if they wanted to enhance humans for bio-Olympics or create a enhanced domestic slave. And he says he doesn't know everything, but there are rumors of DARPA being involved and being behind Yerkes. June finds out it's illegal to take an embryo from two different species and put it into a female human, but it's legal if it's a female chimp. So Jesse asks Alex Jones what he knows about this. And he tells him that DARPA is in charge of Yerkes, and they've been trying to splice humans with chimps for decades to make a Humanzi super soldier. He says it's not science fiction, and they created a Humanzi decades ago, so who knows how advanced it is now. So he's saying they've created a Humanzi already. They just haven't been able to make a super soldier out of this thing. And Jesse talks to some locals who live near Yerkes, and they're afraid that something's going to happen. One of these things is going to get out. They actually said one of them already got out. They never found it. So Jesse and Tyrell go to Yerkes, and there's this big fence blocking them. And some guy's taking their picture, so Jesse comes up to him and says, "Do you work for them?" And he says, "No, I'm just neighborhood watch." Of course, Jesse doesn't believe it. And an activist meets with Jesse outside of Yerkes, and a security guard tells them they have to move their car, and Jesse freaks out. Do not tell him he has to move his car. He blew up on the security guard. He says, "What rank do I need to achieve to see this place? Senator? President? Because I've never lost an election, and I'll do whatever it takes to expose this place." All because this guy asked him to move his car. I was like, damn, that's a little extreme right there. So then a woman, conveniently, right after, pulls up and asks to talk to Jesse. And she's exposed things in Yerkes before, like this woman who died who worked there after an infected chimp spit in her eye. And she says that Jeffrey Bourne was one of the former directors of Yerkes for 26 years. Allegedly, he was involved in brainwashing experiments. And she says that she has an article from '76 where he asked a woman to become impregnated by a primate. Then we see Sean Stone, who goes to see this animal husbandry expert, and he says they're growing these animals with human parts, and they're saying it's for organ transplants, but they're actually using these animals as food for the Humanzis, so that they develop a taste for human blood, and will be more effective against a human enemy. I know, that's pretty out there. So Jesse talks to a consultant for the Planet of the Apes movie, and he says a Humanzi would be so strong it could easily body slam Andre the Giant, and they could easily take over. Well, that's not really news. If you had we all know gorillas are 10 times as strong as a man, and all of that stuff, or an orangutan could rip a person's arm off. We know that monkey attacked the chimp attacked that woman and ripped her face off. We know how strong these things are. So if they were able to create a super soldier, is this news that it would be able to body slam Andre the Giant? Not really. But the final thing Jesse says is, science in the wrong hands could be a disaster. And if we have to leave it up to Congress to watch these Dr. Frankensteins, we're screwed. And that was it. That was the episode. So it was an entertaining episode. I'm not saying the government doesn't do weird testing on things like that. This is just my personal opinion. I could see the government doing testing and things like that, especially back during the MK Ultra stuff, 40s, 60s, all that LSD testing, and there's always been secretive stuff going on. But as far as them still trying to create a half man, half monkey, when they already have other things that would be way more effective against a crowd, because the whole thing in this episode was they want to create the Humanzis to control us. So in case a riot breaks out, they can send in these Humanzis. But if they have things like in the Brain Invaders episode that can put thoughts into your mind, death rays, and all of the other stuff we've seen in the show, do they really need Humanzis? That seems like it's way more trouble than it's worth, but that's just my opinion. So anyways, that's my review of this episode. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on this episode in the comments, and thanks for watching.